Commander's favorite Commanders YouTube show. Big game on Sunday. Didn't exactly go great for those of us that are a fan of the team in DC and like rivals and things of that nature. But I do have some takeaways as it relates to our team and what should be the process going into the 2025 season. First, we are going to start with a halftime show. Halftime show was Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar was sensational. He also told me I'm not hating enough. So I have a list of things that I hate. These pertain exclusively to Sunday. If it was more than just Sunday, it'd be a longer list. Anyway, here are some of the things I hate. The Philadelphia Eagles. I hate Super Bowl 59. I hate that the Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl 59. I hate the happiness that it brought the Philadelphia Eagles and their fan base. Their fan base does not deserve that. I hate Nick Sirianni. I don't like looking at him. I hate that the Giants let Saquon Barkley walk. He didn't even play that well. Still hate them for that. I hate Jalen Hurts' press conferences. He gives lines that I put on Instagram when I was 18 years old and I thought I was going to be a track star. In fairness, he's a Super Bowl champion. I did not run track past high school. Win for him, still hate it. I hate that the Chiefs couldn't do a damn thing on offense. We knew that that defensive line was crazy. They still got pressure with Ford. Didn't like that at all. I hate Travis Kelce's hair. I don't think it looked bad. That's just more of a jealousy thing. Not a lot going on top there, underneath the hat. Didn't like it. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles fans that will eventually find themselves in this video saying, ha ha ha, you're our little brother. I hate y'all. I'm glad you destroyed your city, but I also hate that you destroyed your city. I've been to Philadelphia once. I don't hate the city, actually, believe it or not. I think it's fine. I hate Drake. I hate the OV Hoes. Did I mention that I hate the Giants for letting Saquon Barkley walk? Did I mention I hate the Philadelphia Eagles? That game sucked. Thank God Kendrick Lamar was the halftime show because everything else about that was awful. It was just watching your rival curb stomp a team that I know had Washington been in that same position, they would have beaten the Chiefs. That's probably the thing that I took away the most from this is that the NFC Championship really was the Super Bowl because whoever won that game was going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They could not do anything on offense. And this is where we get to the football stuff as it relates to our team. Because my biggest takeaway from watching is that Jaden Daniels is absolutely him. We just watched, arguably, the third greatest quarterback of all time. You might say second greatest quarterback of all time. We're going to put the brakes on first. He did that. He did what he did in front of Tom Brady. Not a great look. But we just watched Patrick Mahomes struggle immensely against that Philadelphia defense. You know who didn't? Jaden Daniels. You know whose offensive weapons surrounding him aren't exactly that much better than Kansas City? Jaden Daniels. Like, if you look at the roster top to bottom, obviously you have Terry McLaurin, who is far better than any wide receiver that Kansas City has, but you might be able to balance that out with Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce didn't have a great year this year, but I would at least say they're on the same level. Kelce's going to be a Hall of Famer. Outside of that, like the talent is very, very similar, but one guy had way more success than the other guy did. And sure, he played him 3 times, so he got to feel him out a little bit, pause, but you get what I'm saying. Jaden was the only guy that cracked the code on this Philadelphia defense. Even the best active quarterback could not do that, which then kind of raises the question, we are underrating Jaden Daniels. And some of us got this dude in the top 4 quarterbacks. But we're underrating this dude. Washington drilled it with Jaden Daniels. That was very apparent. It's also great that Cliff Kingsbury is staying around because he seemed to crack the code a little bit with Philadelphia. This is where the Eagles fans are going to jump in the chat and say, what about the NFC Championship? You know, we hung 55 on y'all boys. I don't really care about that. I am smart enough to look past the scoreboard and the box score to realize Washington was moving the ball significantly better than anything Kansas City was doing, if not for the turnovers. And the turnovers weren't caused by the quarterback like they were in the Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't Jaden turning the football over. It was special teams, and it was guys fumbling the football. So I looked at that game, and I was like, man, this really makes that NFC Championship loss hurt a little bit more because I know that if Washington was there, they would have ended up winning this damn thing. And we'd be parading down Constitution on big floats with everybody in the city wearing burgundy and gold, feeling like we are back as a town. Next on the list, all the pressure is on Adam Peters now. All the pressure is on Adam Peters now. That's not a bad thing, by the way. That's a good thing. You want to have the pressure in year number 2 because that means year number 1 went really, really good. I don't have the opinion that Adam Peters is afraid of the pressure, but you just watched Philadelphia have a dominating performance in the most important game of the season. Like that game was over at the tail end of the first quarter. Kansas City could not do anything. And as much as people wanted to grasp at straws with the 28-3 thing because Tom Brady was in attendance, you knew watching that game they could not do anything. Because when you get pressure with 4, it's a cheat code in the NFL. If you got 4 dudes that can get after the quarterback and then you can drop 7 in coverage, you could have me back there in coverage, and it's still going to end up working out well for you. Getting pressure with 4 is a cheat code. And at times this year, Washington could barely do it with 6. So you have to go out there and you have to make adjustments into the trenches. That's in the interior of the defensive line. That's at the exterior of the defensive line. If that's Myles Garrett, you go out and you get Myles Garrett. If it's Max Crosby, you go out and you get Max Crosby. Addressing it through the draft, in whatever way you have to do to get the trenches to be better, you have to do that. And that's on offense too, mind you. Because you're going to have to see Philadelphia at the very least twice for years to come, potentially 3 times for years to come, because Philadelphia and Washington is the next great rivalry in the NFL. The NFL is desperate for one. You have one with Philly and Washington, but in order for it to be a rivalry, you're going to have to beat them, and you're going to have to beat them the 3rd time that you see them, right? You have to beat them in the playoffs. In order to do that, you have to be prepared for the monsters that they have. So that's the offensive line. It really is going to suck that Sam Cosmi is more likely than not going to miss a majority of the 2025 season. Unless this dude has Adrian Peterson knees and he can heal from an ACL in like 8 months, you're not going to see a lot of Sam Cosmi. So you got to find depth at that offensive line, and you got to make sure that you are comfortable going into 2025, knowing that you can block those beasts that Philadelphia has. It was insane to watch them on both offense and defense. Jalen Hurts was barely touched, and they were running all over Patrick Mahomes in that offensive line. That's how you win games. You know, wide receiver is a priority this offseason, and we got a video coming out later this week where we're going to talk about some of those wide receivers. But do not make any mistake about it. The priority 1, 2, and 3 is getting better in the trenches, because that's how you win rivalry games, and that's how you win big, big playoff games. And Washington needs to make that adjustment. Takeaway number 3. Some of y'all owe at least a very small apology to Marshawn Lattimore. A.J. Brown is just really good, man. Now, Marshawn Lattimore needs to be better. Marshawn Lattimore needs to not lose his cool. All of that is true. But some of the plays that we saw take place in the NFC Championship game, it's just because A.J. Brown is really, really good. If he's doing it to McDuffie in Kansas City, he's going to be doing it to absolutely everyone. Now, I need turnovers from Lattimore in 2025. If you're going to do all of the extracurricular stuff, get in people's faces, get 15-yard penalties, that looks a lot better when you're also forcing turnovers. When you're not forcing turnovers, you become a little bit of a liability. When you're forcing turnovers, I still don't want 15-yard penalties, but at the very least, there's a little bit of a counterbalance there. So Marshawn Lattimore needs to get better, but we just happen to see A.J. Brown, who's at the peak of his powers, man. That guy is just really, really good. And then finally, I tweeted this. You can follow me on Twitter. You see it up there. At the Denton Day. You got to go get Myles Garrett, man. And if it's not Myles Garrett, you got to find somebody on the edge that can do both things. You got to be able to stop the run. You got to be able to get after the passer. Right now, Washington does not really have a game wrecker on defense. Frankie Louvu is sensational, but he is not a legitimate game wrecker. You take Myles Garrett and you put Myles Garrett on this defense, and then you allow a little bit more versatility from Frankie Louvu. You allow a little bit more versatility from the guys on the inside, Allen, Payne. Maybe it's just one of the two that's back in 2025. Maybe it's both. I don't really know. But I know that Myles Garrett immediately takes those double teams that those guys face, and he commands the double teams, which makes life a whole lot easier for everybody else. Garrett is a legitimate first ballot Hall of Famer already. He's the best defensive player in the National Football League. If you have an opportunity to get him, you have to go get him. The window right now, the first window, is wide open for Washington. And let me make one thing 100% clear. The first window is related to Jaden Daniels and his rookie contract, where you can spend a little bit more money elsewhere, knowing that you have less money allocated to the quarterback, but eventually you're going to have to pay the quarterback. But make no mistake about it, that's the first window. The entire window is Jaden Daniels. To take a quote from his LSU brethren, a guy that prior to week 3 was my favorite quarterback in the NFL, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow said in 2000, I think it was 2023, he said, "I am the window." Jaden Daniels is the same thing here in Washington. He is the window. You just have multiple different kinds of windows. And right now, you have the ability to spend money elsewhere to then make it a lot easier when you're not having to pay the quarterback potentially $70 million per year. Because by the time it's Jaden Daniels' extension time, those are the numbers you're going to be looking at. So the pressure's on Adam Peters. He's not afraid of it. I promise you that. He came to Washington to have the pressure on him to restore a once great fan base to greatness. They're ahead of schedule. You got to stay ahead of schedule. Now, I trust in Adam Peters. I'm not worried about it, but it was very clear. You got to get better in the trenches, man. You really, really do. Thanks for coming into my office. If you're not following me on Twitter, go ahead, follow me on Twitter at the Denton Day. I'm out of here. We got another video coming this week on wide receivers. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. Appreciate you coming into my office. Now, respectfully, get out.